Hey everyone, it's Marla at Twinstrology. Welcome back. I want to talk with you today about the summer solstice and the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to be very coherent in this reading. I'm really tired. I've been doing so many readings, transmuting a lot of energy. Mercury's in retrograde, and I seem to be having a lot of trouble talking today. But I'm going to give it one more try and see if I can get this information out to you. So, the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year, and coincides with the sun moving into Cancer, is happening on June 20th. This is starting the summer season. At the same time, or just a few hours later, we have this new moon solar eclipse in Cancer. The sun is still going to be on that first degree of Cancer when the eclipse happens, but it's technically on the 21st if you're in Eastern time zone, but still in the 20th, June 20th, if you're in the Pacific time zone. And so what we have with this double whammy of energy is a big shift in our karma and a lot of change coming through. Remember, a new moon solar eclipse is 4 times more powerful than a normal new moon. New moons bring new energy, new beginnings. The sun going into Cancer represents a new beginning, a new season. And this new moon is very close to the North Node. Whenever we have an eclipse, what it represents is that the new moon or full moon is very close to the nodal axis, but they're not always this close. There's less than 1 degree of separation between the new moon and the North Node. And this is what's activating this change in our karma. The Sabian symbol for this first degree of Cancer is on a ship, sailors lower an old flag and raise a new one. So remember, this is always the Sabian for the summer solstice, but we do not usually have a new moon eclipse on the solstice. So that's giving this energy more power. And I'm sure you recognize that the Sabian is about change, a changing of the guard. We're taking down the old flag and we're raising a new one. Now we want this flag to be a flag that's more unified and, has light workers. That's what we're here doing. Now, that old flag in a lot of ways represents our karmic story and the programs developed from those karmic stories. And what I'm being shown is that we are in some way being freed from that energy. We're ready to let some of that go now. It's like we have to find the blessing here, okay? Because some of these things are going to be things that you've been working on for a very long time. Maybe things that you've been really frustrated with, but as always, Spirit's guiding us to see the blessing because you've learned an important lesson around that. In addition, when we're working with our karma and the nodal axis, the South Node represents our past and in some ways, our negative patterns, but also our skills and abilities. And when we let go of the old stuff, then we're able to access those skills and abilities that we couldn't earlier. So this new moon eclipse on the North Node is activating those skills and abilities to be more integrated within you. And the more you can release, the more easier this is going to be. Many people are awakening. And even, if you feel like you've been awake for years, we're still continually increasing our level of consciousness. With the new moon on the north node, right, this represents expansion as well. South node is over there in Sagittarius and can have a lot to do with our belief systems. And with the Gemini energy coming in, it's time to expand our belief systems. And this is very much in line with the Sabian. On a ship, sailors lower an old flag and raise a new one. In some ways, this speaks about allegiance to, a certain flag and therefore a certain country or government. And that can be that Sagittarian energy, having an allegiance to something. Now, it may not be the country. That's kind of an obvious thing that stands out in the mind with a flag. And of course, we have so much political turmoil going on right now. But it can represent anything that you have so much allegiance to that you can't really look at it honestly or accurately. You can't see it with clarity. And this new moon is definitely going to bring in clarity and bring in discernment so that you can see truth about some things. And in this way, move forward, move into a new stance, which is the new flag. Habits might be changing as well, as giving up those patterns. In my little book on the Sabian symbols, the author, which is Linda Hill, has written some quotes from people. And there's this quote here that I really like. It's by a man named Norman Thomas. And it says, "If you want a symbolic gesture, don't burn the flag, wash it." And I really like that for kind of that political turmoil that I spoke about a minute ago, because to wash it is burning it. And there are some things that you don't want to get rid of. You don't want to totally tear something down, but you want to cleanse it and purge it. You want to help it evolve into something new. Now, Saturn and Uranus are still, just barely making a square to each other as Saturn's going retrograde. But that's holding that energy of how do we combine the old and the new in a way that's going to suit everybody, if we're talking about the broader issues. So definitely change is in the air. As I said, Mercury is retrograde and went retrograde on the 18th if you're in Eastern Standard Time. And Mercury is playing into this energy because I feel we're doing a lot of inner child healing. Because here Mercury is in Cancer, which has a lot to do with our inner child. It represents the house that is responsible for our patterns. And the moon is in its natural home in Cancer as well. So let's step back a moment and let's talk about what I'm really feeling for the next 3 months and what this new moon is kind of ushering in for this summertime. And that is, we're really going to be pushed to be our true selves. I've been talking about this for a long time. You might be sick of hearing me say it, but in actuality, we've all been making a lot of progress. And we're close. We're close in a lot of ways. Maybe not to fully revealing ourselves 100%, but we need to at least feel comfortable speaking up about certain things. Because as we move into the fall, there's going to be more triggers. And there'll be more triggers over the summer, but there'll be triggers definitely in the fall. And we need to be prepared to handle those triggers. And that means healing our throat chakras and being able to speak, being able to stay balanced, being able to hold the light within, being in our heart, and being able to have compassion for what is going on with people around us. Now, one of the things that are happening, as I mentioned, is Mercury retrograde, healing our inner child, because it's the inner child part of us that gets afraid to speak because he or she has felt rejected, abandoned, wounded. And I want to say that I've had a lot more men coming to me for sessions recently, and these men are not even twin flames. They're just guys that found me through other sources, but they're all working on the same thing, and that's getting in touch with their emotions so that they can speak up for themselves. Maybe we don't think about men having trouble speaking up for themselves, but they've been wounded just as much as the feminine has been wounded. But I wanted to share that because I know there's probably a disproportionate number of divine feminines watching this, and many of you are not in contact with your twin, and you might be wondering, are they growing? What are they doing? And I'm definitely seeing shifts of men getting more into their divine masculine energy and doing that inner child healing that I'm talking about. Another interesting pattern that we have going on here is asteroid union is in Libra and opposing Black Moon Lilith, and they're going to be opposing each other for a while. Lilith, we can think of, has an aspect of the divine feminine very similar to Pluto, where we're trying to unearth patterns, we're trying to heal old wounds. And I feel there's also this this energy of wanting to go for it, having like a strong sense of will, and that sort of thing that we can relate to the Pluto-Mars energy. Of course, Lilith in Aries is definitely going to be feeling that. But there's an interesting Sabian that she's on, and it's two prim spinsters sitting together in silence. This again has to do with that Sabian lowering the old flag and bringing up a new one, because the spinsters are representing that kind of old energy, maybe a little bit connected to the patriarchy or having to be very prim and proper. And they're sitting in silence as well. So they're not speaking, they're holding their tongue. And isn't that very much kind of the old energy around, the repression of women? And so it's like Lilith is trying to battle that energy. Because she's opposite union, it's telling us that there's something about finding our voice here in respect of the divine feminine that needs to heal so we can align more with the union energies. Let me just go back to, let me just check what the Sabian is for union. A retired sea captain watches ships entering and leaving the harbor. Well, I feel the Sabian is a little bit about being detached, and I think it's important for twins and light workers to be a little bit detached. So like with this Lilith energy I'm mentioning, we're all going through that as a collective on some level. And if there's people around you that are experiencing that more intense energy, you may need to detach. It's like you can watch you can watch the things come and go, but don't focus so much on what's happening, because a lot of what's happening, it's just shifts, it's just change. Like I said, there's going to be a lot more, and we need to prepare ourselves. And if we all get caught up in the drama and get lost in our emotions, then we're not going to be helping the collective. Like, we need to be able to stand in balance, in love, and, hold that sense of unity. So it's an energy with our twins, and speaking our truth with our twins, and speaking our truth within the collective. Those two things are combined. Please be aware of all the subliminal messages going on too within the media. I was driving down the highway the other day, and the sign on the highway said, "Cover your face in public." Now, of course, we have this whole mask thing going on. And, hey, if you want to wear a mask, doesn't matter to me. If I go to the store, sometimes I put the mask on if it's going to make other people more comfortable. But, even if you are doing those things, and that's fine, no judgment, be aware of the subliminal messages that are coming through, because, why do you think those messages are happening right now? Because light workers are ready to go to the next level in their authenticity. And there's forces here, the duality energy, that doesn't want that to happen. So subliminally, it's like, don't speak, hide your face, which is subliminal for hide who you truly are. So just be aware and fight against those forces, because it's really important that we allow our light to shine now more than ever. Let me just see the Chiron. The Sabian symbol for Chiron is a teacher gives new symbolic forms to traditional images. So we have the exact same energy from Chiron, which is very loosely square the nodes. It's within 10 degrees, so I'm sorry, not squaring the nodes. I meant squaring the new moon. So yeah, Chiron is picking up this energy of change as well. And the key words with that are new dimensions, breaking old thought forms and behaviors, finding new inspiration, new age consciousness. Remember, Chiron's related to our multidimensional energy as well. Mercury is squaring that Lilith union opposition, which is just triggering that needing to speak even more. And I think I mentioned before, let's just try to be tolerant of each other. People are polarized. There's lots of different ideas coming forward right now from different people. And it's okay, because we're trying to find the right thing to do. And so talking about a lot of different things is one way to get there, as long as we're not attaching too much to it, and we don't want to be angry. We don't want to have an angry tone with people if we can avoid that. And we also don't want to be too afraid. And I'm sure many twins listening to this are going to have issues from their childhood where they were afraid to speak out because of situations at home, and having to now clear that energy out. Another thing that's happening for twins is Eros and Psyche are in a conjunction. I think they've been in a conjunction for a week or two, and they're going to be in it for another couple weeks. And this happens about every 2 years. And I was just looking about the article I wrote 2 years ago when they came into a conjunction. And we're basically still dealing with the same energy as I talked about then, which is a lot of it having to maintain our faith and be true. If we look at the story of Eros and Psyche, and I've talked about this so many times, I don't want to go over all the details, but Eros was keeping his identity a secret from Psyche. He didn't let her see him. They were married, and she had no clue who she was married to because he would only visit her at night in the dark. And in a way, that's a lot like the divine masculine side of us. In some way, the divine masculine wants to protect itself, wants to protect us, right? If we think about not just the divine masculine energy, but the divine masculine in all of us, it's that part that is afraid to show the vulnerability of being authentic and is out to protect us, right? And so Eros is representing that energy. And Psyche becomes afraid. She's told by her sisters that she's married to a monster. So in the middle of the night, she lights a lamp to sneak a look at him. And in a way, that's like the divine feminine. The divine feminine now holding up that light to see, like, who's truly there. But Eros gets mad. He runs away. It's, representing that divine masculine part of us running away in fear, not wanting to be seen. And Psyche, in her love, tries to find him. And her mother-in-law, Venus, sets her on this quest to overcome these 3 incredibly hard challenges. But she does it because of her unconditional love. So the fact that these two come together are really telling us a lot about this energy and how we're balancing that within us, and that will balance that with your union. Again, it's like that 2 sides that I mentioned. There's this energy that's going on with your twin, and this energy that's going on in a broader sense with you as part of the collective energies. If we look at that a little bit deeper for twin flames, Psyche represents the telepathic bond that you can have with another person, and Eros represents sexual passion and soul merging, the chemistry that twin flames feel. And it's that chemistry and telepathy that keeps them going, that keeps them connected, even when they're separate. It creates that bond of oneness. But for some, this conjunction coming together now might trigger some patterns of distrust, right? Psyche had to have faith. She lost her faith for a moment because she didn't trust Eros, who wasn't exposing himself, and she had to peek at who he was. So she had that trust broken then, but then she remained in her trust as she overcame those challenges. Now Eros, for his part, he felt broken trust from Psyche because she didn't trust him enough to believe. She had to find out his identity. And it's that feeling of broken trust, hurt, abandonment, like I said, that keeps us locked in that old pattern of fearing our vulnerability and therefore feeling our ability to speak out. Twins over the next 3 months are healing this fear of speaking their truth to each other. And I'm seeing that in so many sessions that I'm doing. And I feel like the fall is going to bring the opportunity for some shifts for more people to reconnect. But the chemistry, the telepathy is going to be felt strongly. And with it, the sense of multidimensionality, the sense that there is no time, that all is one, and that you are always one within your union. And these asteroids, Eros and Psyche, are forming a loose in conjunction with union, which means there's some place inside of us still where, despite the sense of oneness, this pull and connection, we might not feel that energy of union. So that's another thing that might be coming up. And then lastly, we have Venus getting ready to go direct. And she's pretty much stationed here on 5 degrees as we are at this eclipse. And that can be bringing up some triggers too around the heart and karma that we might be having. But then she's going to begin to go forward, and we should feel a nice shift in the energy there. What date did I say? Did I tell you the right date? Venus goes direct on the 25th Eastern time, and I believe the 24th Pacific time. But, do be aware that emotions are heightened right now because we have the sun and the moon and Mercury all in Cancer, with Mercury being retrograde, Venus stationed. Neptune is also stationed because Neptune's going to be going retrograde like the day before Venus goes direct. That's gonna create a lot of emotions. So just be aware of that. Again, don't attach too much to what's going on. And then we have Mars shifting on the 27th. I said Venus was last, but I actually have one more thing to say because I want to talk about Mars here for a minute. Mars has been in Pisces. Right now at the eclipse, he's breaking away from a conjunction with Neptune. When Mars is in that energy, Mars wants to fight for social justice. So it's no surprise that some of these political things were happening with Mars here. Mars is a little bit softer in Pisces. But on the 27th, Mars goes into Aries. As Mars makes this transition, is square the nodes. Even right now, Mars is square the nodes, and that's going to continue for a bit. Mars is going to be in Aries for an extended time because in September, Mars is going retrograde. So, I don't know the exact date, but possibly for the rest of the year, at least Mars is going to be in Aries. Now, Mars in Aries can be a little bit more argumentative than Mars in Pisces. And so we might feel people becoming a little bit angrier, a little bit more aggressive. Again, don't detach. Hold the light, hold the space for people that are waking up and struggling with the things that are going on. Mars will be, I'll talk about that actually later. I don't need to talk about that now. So overall, this is a really, really good energy coming in, but there may be triggers that you're feeling. But really focus as much as you can on your self-expression and being who you truly are. Thank you so much, guys. If you would like a personal reading with me, you can visit my website, which is twinstrology.com. And I'm sending you a lot of love, and I'll speak to you soon.